This is your Frontier Opening Bell. Everyone, welcome to Tuesday, the 11th of January. I am Bosin Amofai of Frontier Africa Reports. Welcome to the show. And my guest on the show this Tuesday is Luke Ofojebe, who is the head of equity research and investment analysis at Vetiva Capital Management. Good morning, Luke.
Good morning, Bosin. Thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Luke. Thank you so much. Hope your new year is getting off to a very good start.
Sure it is. How about you?
Great. Okay, let's hit the ground running. Just a very quick run through major markets for the some of the Frontier Africa markets. Nigerian bourse started the new week about 10 basis points in the green, went up about 2.6% last week. Quite a very big rally to start the new year. The PRVM came back and notched above the 200 level, very strong, the 203.4 by nearly 1%. The Egyptian market better by 37 basis points after coming back from their own Christmas holiday period for last weekend. The Nairobi bourse fell very sharply, 2.12%, and the GSE fell 15 basis points on the back of the losses, hefty losses in the industrial sector. That was moderated by the financial services and the mining resource. The Rand fell a little bit yesterday as we saw a bit of a comeback in the U.S. Dollar index printed about 95.94 yesterday evening, better by 32 basis points. Look at the East African corridor, where you have a bit of business news and economic headlines to start today's trading day. Kenya's central bank is looking to hold its own monetary policy meeting on January the 26th. Nigeria's central bank will hold its meeting on the 24th and 25th. Equity Group has gotten a license to start insurance business. The banks now allowed to do insurance business in Kenya are taking the business out of the traditional insurance companies. Equity Bank, Equity Bank, the largest banking group in Kenya, now have insurance under its belt and is going to get a whole lot bigger. BHP Billiton says it's investing $100 million in the Tanzania's nickel project in Kabanga, and that is a way of getting into the green energy space, a part of that transition from BHP Billiton. Uganda's volume of check payments is declining to about 10% ahead of the January 15 deadline, which is later this week when the Central Bank of Tanzania says check issuance is now being phased out. And Africa's best stock exchanges in 2021 was Lusaka Stock Exchange, index return at 93.2%. Ghana came second at about 39.6%, and Malawi is the third, 32.24%. I'm touching into the West African space right now, where the Africa's pay TV subscription, according to a report which came out on Monday, says that the pay TV market will climb 46% between last year and 2027, and the three biggest players, led by MultiChoice and DSTV, will retain this leadership of the market moving forward. The Nigerian government is spending $1.6 billion on food imports in the 9 months last year, while Hummingbird Resources is evaluating its impact of the ECOWAS sanctions on Mali. The ECOWAS leaders have decided to close the accounts and financials of the military junta in Mali in all central banks in West Africa, including commercial banks, as well as the BCL. Commercial trading activities has also been shut down with Mali, just to put pressure on the military rulers to return to democracy. And Ghana's NCA is looking at an extension of SIM card of re-registration deadline within the country. And that's about it here. Now, the Bank of Ghana is looking to sell about $450 million worth of FX in first quarter of this year. That's the Central Bank of Ghana, by the way, a bit of an outlook on its FX transactions. Let's get a bit of the Southern African market space. We'll get back a little bit into conversation with Luke a bit later. Let's run you through the headlines. Steinhoff is selling his mattress business via an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange in the U.S., looking to get some cash in for the troubled retailer. Zimbabwe has welcomed the government's plan to ban exports of chrome ore, while Angola says it will not have a new program with the IMF this year. According to Eaglestone, we're seeing a lot of protests on the streets or burning of vehicles and all that in Angola's capital. on the back of some of the issues around protests by the taxi drivers over fuel prices. And BHP is buying a $100 million stake in Tanzania's Kabanga nickel. That's part of the story in there. Let's sum it up very quickly in North Africa, where the Egyptian annual urban inflation will touch about nearly 6% in December. The Central Bank of Egypt has given its approval to provide emergency liquidity to banks just in case they need it. And Morocco wants a win-win deal between the EU and the African continent, while Algeria's Sonatrach is to start its first offshore drilling in 2023. Luke Ofojebe is back. Luke, thank you so much. Bring us way in on the Nigerian market for us. We saw a very big rally last week. This week looks is starting off to a very good start. What is the sentiment right now, starting the new year, on the side of big investors, retail investors, and in deep pockets and institutional investors?
Like you said, I mean, it's been an interesting run since the start of the year. We are seeing more of positive sentiment in the stock market. One of the major drivers of this sentiment was the listing of Boa Foods last week, which was listed at 14 naira as at the date of listing. But we've been seeing more positive sentiment on that stock since its listing. It has increased from 14 naira to about 58 naira yesterday. That's almost about 50% since its listing. And that has, in a way, also attracted positive sentiment on other major stocks, the likes of MTN, Seplat, Total Nigeria, and even to some extent, some of these banking stocks. Yes, we understand that this is 2022 is a pre-election year. Investors are aware of the heightened investment risk and all that. But given the expectations that some of these companies are going to turn out impressive results for the year, we should expect to see more of.
So election year always bring liquidity into the economy, in the manner of speaking, political spending. That's what we call it. So are you looking to see some of these funds flow into the equity investing, or perhaps bonds, securities, fixed income, treasury bills, managed funds?
Maybe not. So because it depends on how the spending is being carried out. If it's through formal means, right? If it's going through formal channels, then we might see that affecting to some extent, driving positive sentiment in the stock market. But if it's through informal channels, then it could just be circulated around the economy without really impacting trading sentiment in the stock market, because what it means is that it's just going to be used for purchase of goods and all that. We don't think that will materially impact.
One of the key focus, Luke, that the SEC says it wants to focus on in 2022 is an advocacy for the listing of the new NNPC Limited. President Buhari just inaugurated the board of the NNPC just about a week ago. So are you in tune with this move?
Yes, it's going to be an interesting one. And it comes with several positives for the government, because what it means is that the NNPC will then be run just the way you run a typical private company, right? Just that in this case, the government is going to be one of the major shareholders. So profits will only be distributed if there is any, as dividends. If there is no profit, there is really nothing to share with the government, and there is really nothing to share with other shareholders. So that's what we are watching out for. I think in a way it's going to make the government more efficient with the use of its resources, rather than just making cash calls or obligations and you're not getting any from the NNPC. So with this.
What else are you folks at Vetiva Capital looking to in the new year 2022? What's your playbook, broadly speaking, across the various asset classes in the new year?
It's just the start of the year, and we also understand, like I said earlier on, that this is a pre-election year. There will be investment worries about the instruments to invest in, especially if you are playing in the stock markets, where returns are volatile. So for us at Vetiva, we actually fancy two major sectors, which are the telecommunications sector and the industrial goods sector. And we have strong reasons for, for picking these two major sectors. One is that for telecommunications, whatever goes on in the economy, you still, you still need their services. You still need the service of telecommunications companies, right? Whether to make calls, whether to visit the internet, whatever the case, you still need internet services. So it's very difficult. In reality, it's very difficult to disrupt their business, whether it's pre-election or not. And then for industrial goods, I mean, looking at the budget for 2022, we're talking about a budget of about 16 trillion naira, deficit of around 6 trillion. Capex expenditures should be around 5 to 6 trillion. So that should help to drive, cement consumption in the country, because the government will be heavily involved in, construction activities in order to protect its political goodwill ahead of 2023 elections. So that should help to, drive top line performance for the likes of Dangote Cement, Lafarge Africa, and Boa Cement. And that's also one of the major reasons we actually fancy industrial goods. To some extent, we think in oil and gas, especially for companies in the upstream space like Seplat, might also do very well in 2022, given where oil prices are currently. I mean, from our Outlook report, we had mentioned that oil prices will remain around $80 per barrel. And we've already started seeing that in the international oil market. So that might also support, positive sentiment for the oil and gas sector. Banking, we are still a bit skeptical. Interest rates, I mean, still at very low levels compared to pre-pandemic levels, right? So interest income might suffer in 2022. Non-interest income, are we going to see another sharp devaluation in 2022? If not, then non-interest income, might also, remain flat or even decline. So that means that outlook for the banking sector is not really that great. So those are the major things we are looking at. For the sectors we favor, like I mentioned earlier on, just
What about
telecommunications and
consumer
industrial
goods?
to
Just
some
to wrap it
extent,
up with
oil
you,
and
Luke.
gas.
What about consumer goods? Because election year, electioneering period is when politicians tend to be really nice to their constituencies, if you know what I'm saying. Distribution of consumables, as it were. So most likely, flour, sugar, edibles, oil, and things like that.
Yes. You're very right. You're very right. I mean,
Yes.
with what comes with the political spending, right? You should expect that to drive consumer demand in 2022, especially in the second half of the year when politics is
Yeah.
expected to become more and more intense, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's true. But the major risk to the growth we'll see in consumer goods is inflationary pressures, right? I mean, inflation is still around 17%. There is still pressure on the naira. And if you look at what's going on in the official market, you notice that steadily the naira has been depreciating. It's already around 430 naira to a dollar in the official market. In the parallel market, around 570, and we expect to see continual depreciation going forward. So that will continue to weigh on the performance of consumer goods. So turnover, like you said, sales turnover might improve because of political spending, but when you look at the reality around a drop in margins, then profitability might not really improve significantly in 2022.
Okay, let's register there for today. Thank you so much for coming through for our first chat in the new year, 2022. Luke Ofojebe, who is the head of investment analysis and equity research